Here's today's quote of the day. Do not confuse dreams with wishes. There's a difference. Dreams are where you visualize yourself being successful at what's important to you to accomplish, and dreams build convictions. By Dolly Parton. So, I got a seat in here, and I keep debating about these corbels that I got. I'm kind of a thrifty guy, so I kind of like using what I find. I found these on Craigslist for a pretty good deal, so I kind of hate getting rid of them. But then what I'm running into is, I think, these little feet on the bottom of them are hanging out just a little bit too low to make it really work and fit in here. So I might do some work because I kind of want to have the seats mounted before I firm up all the the placement of the roll cage and make sure that it's set right. Because right now, like if you look through here, my shoulders are actually above the seat opening, but then the seat opening is lower than the roll bar. So I'm kind of debating what I should do here. You can see these little feet here, but I think those I need to make sure that I have room for that if I'm going to use these seats. Otherwise, I'd like to get the seats, like some different seats, and I've been looking at some Sparkos that don't have those little feet, so you can be able to get it down that much closer to the floor. But yeah, the feet don't get in the way because you still have this nice subframe rail here that sticks up out of the floor, even way back to here. The feet don't hang down. The center of the seat kind of butts up against this piece here, and the feet are still kind of above the floor. I'm toying around with some ideas. Maybe I can make my own bracket here using the stock seat bolt locations and get things kind of low enough where I can get some other seat brackets that go up to, these seats have the little side bolts on them, as you can see here. So I figured I'd get brackets that bolt up to these instead of trying to bolt to the feet on the bottom. All right, I thought I'd show this real quick. So I've been doing a little work here. I was trying to figure out how exactly to get this corbel seat to fit in here. So I found some steel that I'd bought a while ago, just laying around now. But keep in mind, these are really rough brackets. I just wanted to use some flat steel, see how close I could get this thing. So this rear part and this front part mount right to the floor, of course, where the seat bracket bolts are in the floor. And all I did was just drill some holes so this corbel seat fit right on it. And then I put some washers as spacers there to kind of mimic what might happen if I make some of my own brackets or buy some that actually bolt to here and then up to these side bolts here. So I just kind of spaced it up, maybe a little bit more than I needed to, but I thought that would give me the general idea of whether or not these corbels are going to work for my situation here. All right, I thought I'd turn the camera on here, just kind of show where I'm at right now, and just kind of go through some of my current thoughts about this. I just got bolts on the front here, trying to get the seat kind of leveled out. I don't know, I think I need to do a little more work here. Maybe those brackets aren't 100% flat, but it was enough to kind of get an idea. But I'm happy to say that it looks like there's a little room between the bottom of the seat here and that subframe connector. I think I'm going to try to use these seats. Again, I sat down in here and the seat kind of levels and flattens out and everything. So I think between a bracket on the floor and then brackets going up to these bolts on the side here, it can make up some difference and get things kind of leveled and straightened out. It does kind of bug me though, because when you sit in here, like here's the center of the seat, and if I'm holding the camera straight forward, hopefully it's not centered up with the steering wheel. And me being as nitpicky as I am, it's kind of bugging me a little. But I did slap the console back in here. And as you can see, it's kind of got about the gap I would expect to have right there. I could maybe move it over 3/4 of an inch or something, but I don't think that's going to make a world of difference. And you do have a little gap between the seat and the floor here. So I kind of like how it's sitting, and I did grab the helmet and throw it on, and I do have space between my big fat head and the ceiling here. So I might even take the back of the seat and jack it up just a little bit. I think last I showed I had the roll cage in the car. I did a bunch of checking and trying to test fit it behind that seat that's kind of bolted in, loosely bolted in. But as you can see, I got the cage pulled out, and I did a little measuring, and I decided to drop this harness bar. I did it about 5/8 of an inch. So from where it was down to where you see it now, and got it all welded in. So feast your eyes on my amateur welds. This one I had a little bit of a gap, so I just kind of hit it with the extra little bit there. But I'm pretty happy with how it is. I had to undo a couple little tacks, and those were held in pretty good. I'm gonna work on getting this into the car. I wish I actually had some roll cage paint. I just hit this top bar with it out of the car. But I got to weld onto this anyway, so maybe I'll have to work on pulling the headliner out of the car. Maybe I should do that before I slap this bugger in there. But maybe I'll just kind of see how it goes and just kind of go from there. Okay, I got the cage mocked up in here, and I kept trying to decide, well, whether it's right or wrong or whatever, but the cage, the way I have it set in here, I got it pretty much set up the way I want to tack it in here. And this cage blocks the bolt. Here, I should actually point the camera at it. Blocks the bolt for the shoulder belts, the OE shoulder belts. And I know I talked about before, I was just going to forget about them, right or wrong, and just run harnesses. And then I thought, you know, maybe I should try to fit those in there. But then the only way I could really figure out so that I can keep room for the seat for where I want it is to tilt this way back. And then this bar like starts to get in the front of the way of the window there. So I kind of decided against that. I had my son Owen come out here just to get his thoughts on everything, and he agreed with me just to forget about the OE seat belts. So I got it set in here the way I want to. Got everything kind of measured up so it's even side to side here. So front to back and side to side between the rocker and the roll bar post there, and then front to back, so between the drop here from the rear seat to where that roll bar is on each side. So my thought is I'm just kind of gonna get this tacked in place, probably put a tack weld on each side, move the magnets, put a tack weld on the front, and then I'll probably keep my little safety post there. And then I'm gonna start working on the rear bars, so I'll have to get some of this stuff out of the way and start working my way back for the rear bar. So what my thought is right now is I want to get this all tacked in place, get the rear bars tacked in place, get the lower door bars tacked in place, and I did like I said before, kind of drop this post down a little bit so that this bar is a little bit lower in the opening on the seat. But I think it's still a little bit high, but I want to get the harness that just wraps around here, so that'll kind of drop it down, and my shoulder sits above this opening anyway. So I'm thinking I should be pretty good, and I think I'm going to mount the passenger seat up a little bit higher so that this opening is actually up above this bar a little bit, or maybe a little bit higher in relation to that bar than what it is on this side. So I'm hoping I got it low enough. Now on second thought, I'm kind of wishing I would have dropped it down even a little bit more, but yeah, it's kind of late for that now. But like I said, I think I'll pop that other seat up about an inch or something and just kind of go with that. Especially since Owen's a little shorter than I am and Nora's shorter than I am. My wife is shorter than I am, so I think it'll work out just fine. I'm working on getting these rear bars set in. So I got one for each side done. I got one laying on the garage floor up ahead there. Kind of set it in place up there and trimmed it all nice and flat so it mounted on the floor right here. And I did set the extra trim in here just to see how it fit. Then I grabbed one of these plates and kind of mounted, put it underneath the end of the roll bar here and kind of mounted it in place to where I figured I'd want it. And just marked off on the floor where it should be, and this one did hang over the spare tire well, so I did kind of heat it up and bent it so that it kind of conforms to the floor a little bit here to where I want to mount it. So the next thing is I'm going to knock off some of this sound deadener here so that I can get this thing kind of mocked up in place. But the main hoop tacked in, been playing around, did a bunch of work to try to get this in place. So it's tacked up there on each side. And I got plates just tacked in down here. I ground and sanded, wire wheeled all the paint off down there. I got that tacked in. It's solid enough to grab and shake a little bit. Same thing on this side. This side I just kind of pounded down. Just there's a rib that kind of runs through here and along here, so I just pounded it down in the front and in the back. I figure I'll run a weld along all the way around all four sides of there. Drilled some holes in here for some plug welds and got this side tacked. This side I could have done a little better up where it mounts to the main hoop up there. I had a little bit of a gap, but I fear it's nothing a little welder can't fix. But yeah, it's coming along pretty well, I think. I just threw an old curtain over this seat since I was tack welding right up above overhead there. I think it looks pretty cool with those hoops welded in. But yeah, I think it looks pretty freaking sweet. Here, I should try this. Oh yeah, looks pretty wild. When I did throw the plastics in here, it seems like this tube's a lot closer back here to the plastic, and then it's more of a gap. But what I'm figuring is this plastic here on the driver's side kind of goes pretty much straight down. So this one on the passenger side almost seems like it kind of angles back towards the back of the car, so it looks like there's more of a gap on this side between the plastics and the cage than on this side. So, and also too, like this side, the plastic goes straight down. This side, it kind of angles in towards the center of the car a bit more, I suppose, because you got the gas filler neck here. So I think this side, the tube's a little more angled out this way towards the side of the car than what this one is. But I think I'm okay with that, just so that I have room for getting all these plastics out. Hopefully can get them out. That's gonna be quite the fiasco, I think. But we'll see how it goes. I was hoping to be able to get those plastics out so that I could finish welding this in and can get the headliner out and that sort of stuff. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how much I end up regretting putting this cage in here. I'm gonna try this on my phone for a change. I got 2 GoPros, 4 batteries. All 4 of them are dead. So not too happy about that. I thought I had some that were charged. But trying to remember what I was showing last. I had been working on this low slung door bar. I got the plate kind of formed to the floor, kind of welded or just tacked into place. Tacked into place up here. Tacked into place down there. The only thing that's securely welded in right now is this crossbar, harness bar. So just wanting to see how things fit. It's a really tight fit with the seat here. There's like, this seat isn't securely permanently mounted yet, but it's at least mounted to the floor halfway decent. But you can get a little bit of a gap here, but I think this seat, when it's all said and done, is going to be up against this bar. And then when you close the door, it actually pushes in on the armrest just a little bit here. Keep in mind, it does need new door pins, but the door does shut. I don't know if you can see it very well in there, but yeah, it's up against that armrest. Pretty, barely got a little bit of a bulge to the top of the armrest pad, so it's just pushing on this armrest pad right about here. I think there's enough room there. And I'm actually kind of debating if I really want to keep the door bars in there or just go without and just do the main hoop and the rear bars. So like I said, I just got this tacked in for now, tacked in on those spreader plates on the floor. In case I do want to pull those out, I can think about it. But in the meantime, I am going to get this seat out of the driver's side, pop it in over on the passenger side. And I got that low slung door bar kind of tacked up so that it's ready to go in there. And once I get the seat kind of mounted to the floor on this side, just to kind of get a feel for the fit. I don't know how good my little makeshift brackets are going to be for getting it over onto this side, but I'll give it a shot. I'm going to keep in mind that the seat on this side is going to sit up maybe about an inch higher, so it might have a little more room with how that fits there. The seat's going to sit up a shade higher, so yeah, probably not going to make a world of difference if it's sitting here or up about an inch on where this interacts between the seat and that bar. So we'll see how it goes. Got the driver's side tacked in. I just loosely set the seat on the passenger side and got the spreader plate tacked in down there. So I ended up putting a couple tacks on here and a couple tacks on there. Got that pretty, well, as solid as it can be with a couple of tacks in there. I think I got a little bit of room for the seat here. But like I said, this seat might be set up a little bit higher than the seat on the passenger side or on the driver's side. And maybe I'll even keep it a couple inches forward just to leave a little more room for this door bar here. And I think that seat's pretty close to where I want to have it mounted. I'll sit down in the car in a second here before I pull the seat out. So the next task is I'll set my fat butt in here and see how this seat fits with this door bar. And then get the seat out of here. So I'll figure out if I want to do just a full diagonal bar or if I want to do a bar up to the center from the driver's side, then a bar up from the side to the center is what I meant to say, and have them both kind of meet up in the center, or what I really want to do there. I don't know if there's really a right or wrong way to do that, but I'm sure someone else can correct me if I'm wrong there. And lastly, I'm going to get these sail panels out here, get the headliner out of here so that I can get everything cleaned up for painting. And I'm going to also I think I'm going to build a bar and kind of reinforce where the shock mounts are underneath these plastics here. Just because of running the coilovers, I want to reinforce where the shocks bolt up to there. And probably put a bar across between the two. And then I was thinking about even running like another additional brace from the roll cage down to kind of hold that bar down in place. So I don't know if I'm really thinking about an overkill way of making that work, or if that's appropriate. But I'll see how it kind of goes here. I at least want to get a bar between the two to kind of reinforce it from side to side. Again, since I have the coilovers, I know I'd seen someone else before. I think it's like the sauce on Instagram and on YouTube too, I think. But he had a problem with running his IRS and it started cracking out around where the shock mounts were. So that's kind of my logic behind that, and just trying to think of what's the best way that I can think of to get that reinforced. So hopefully I don't have that same issue myself in the future. All right, so I had some time to think about this overnight and kind of ran it by some friends. They're also car nuts. So I got this seat just kind of set in here for now, and I was debating running a tube from either the subframe connector, but I think I'll go from the roll bar just so I don't have to cut so many slits and stuff in carpet. So trying to think ahead of what's going to be the best decision in the long run as far as ease of assembling this car in the future. So I thought instead of having the next little points run off of the subframe connector, because then I'd have to cut 2 slots in the carpet or a wider slot to go around the 2 different roll bars, I thought I'd run it up against the spreader plate here along with this tube. Then secondly, I was debating if I wanted to run a tube up from that side up to the center and then run another one from this side and up to the center, or if I should just start at that corner and run it all the way up diagonal here. So here was part of my thought process. I had the seat kind of set back kind of where I thought I'd want it, but then when you'd run the tube up from the center up to the corner, this headrest would get in the way. So then I did a little more figuring, and I went and sat in my spare seat that I got sitting over there and kind of measured from like where my hip point was to where my heel was, and I figured it'd be about 36 inches. So I measured about 36 inches from here up to where the corner of the floor pan is here. The floor pan meets the toe board, whatever you want to call it there. And I could actually get this ahead just a little bit, and I sat in the seat too, just to make sure, like even with my long torso, that my head wouldn't get back past this headrest in case, because that tube will come right up behind this seat. And I think I'll be able to have this seat just far enough ahead and still have plenty of room here and still have it clearing that diagonal bar up towards the roof of the car. So that's the way I'm going to proceed. And it'll look cool that way too. And just another short update. I wish I would have done this before, shown what I did before, but I ended up using PVC tube to mimic what this diagonal tube would be. So I actually got this lower one kind of trimmed. I got a little bit of a gap here, but luckily I can kind of fill that with a little bit of weld, but that's the worst of it. Everything else I got fitting pretty snug, got that one all tacked in. But yeah, I did cut a couple pieces of PVC tube for here and here. Maybe I'll post a picture up of it. But I'm calling it my PV CAD, my PVC aided design. So that's where I'm sitting at right now. Looking pretty good here, I think.